Hey folks, welcome back to Let's Play Wario Land. I'm your host CPC Gamer, and in our last episode, I had an entirely reasonable reaction to the misnaming of this ship. Seriously though, it's a sailboat, not a steamship. Get it right, you guys. Although this bit is not a ship at all. This appears to be a forest. Oh, it has a chicken duck though, so that's nice. It's been a day or two since I played the last run of videos, but I do remember that the last boss kinda cheated us out of a bunch of coins. I kinda figured that I'd take a short break in the middle, because I could feel my pace picking up and becoming more and more manic as I was playing. I figured stepping back would help me calm down a little and do this a little bit better. Now, if you have the patience, you can use this stage to farm a lot of money, because there's a lot of these little guys. I forget if I mentioned before, but they're called pirate goons, and you can shuttle them through the level to the chicken ducks. And do you know what? If I weren't playing this game for you guys, and if I weren't overly concerned with the quality of these videos, I would farm every single one of the fodder enemies for a quick buck. Just like that! Although, I say quick, it would take a very long time. Which... that's actually one of the reasons I'm not going to do it. Now, if you don't want to cheat, this is probably one of the best stages for getting a lot of coins for very minimal effort. Which... it's an absolute rarity in this game. Duke of the Bump LP'd this recently, and he noticed it too. Ahaha! I knew there was something there! Because it was marked on the wall. But no, in this game, you have to take a lot of risks if you want to make a lot of money. And there are areas that are almost counting on your greed in order to trap you. This would be one such example. Are those boulders meant to look like giant Christmas puddings? Because they absolutely do. Or toffee apples. It's hard to tell with two colours. Now, I think the secret door is behind the very top rightmost set of bricks. Of course it's going to be behind the furthest point from the original door. I've played RPGs. Oh, and it's... okay, this is the puzzle I was worried about completing. I really hope this is not as hard as I remember it being. Although, with that said, the game thus far has not been as hard as I remember it being. Possibly because I'm about 20 years older than the last time I played it, and I can't understand what's going on now. Are you kidding me? Like, it was that easy to get the key and make a return trip. What the heck about this puzzle tripped me up the last time I came here? Also, you don't need to flick in and out the stomp animation like that. I just do it because... I don't know, muscle memory, I suppose, because that's what I always did when I was younger. Okay, let's see what's inside our mystery box. Oh, it's a dagger. That's like +3 to our attack stat or something. And it fits right in. I am doing well. You know, something else I got to thinking about the treasures. They could be grouped and related to a story of some kind. Like, in the middle row we have a genie lamp and a Persian dagger. The top row looks like medieval stuff, but... I don't know. That's all I have, really. Anyway, moving on from this little segue, we're gonna carry on with the rest of the level. If memory serves, the game is pretty linear from here on out. I mean, there's a couple of treasures in hard-to-reach spots, but there are no more secret exits. I don't think. I could be wrong. I mean, it's happened before. Precisely once. I shouldn't have scared off that bug. I was going to talk about them. Oh! Okay. So, the game says these are bees. And they're actually sprites that got reused from Super Mario Land 2. You can kill them, but you have to crawl up to them and crouch jump on top of them. You get 10 coins if you can properly hit them. I mean, mostly they just fly away and make you go, oh hey, I saw those guys in the last game! when they made a lot more sense in the last game too, because they showed up in the macro zone, and they were used as like a forced perspective trick to suggest that Mario had been shrunk to the size of a fly. In this game, they're just giant bees, which, I mean, it makes sense if you've ever seen Japanese bees. They're like the size of your thumb, they spit acid. And it's this bizarre, watery music again. And again, I'm going to replace it with something more melodic. See, I'm perplexed by how easy it is to kill those guys. Harpoon death notwithstanding. Because, like, the version of the game that I had when I was younger, those guys are invincible. You can only kill them with very clever timing with a dragon hat. And when you do, the game doesn't know how to react, so it overloads the sound chip and it makes this weird warbling noise. Sounds like dial-up. And I'm actually going to leave that dragon hat for now. I might need it later when I take a hit from one of the harpoon seals. There! That is what it used to do every time you killed one of the harpoon seals. Which is an unfortunate turn of events, because now I can't replace this music with something better. Now, just enjoy it as best you can. Why not? Now, if memory serves, this is a room where you need the bull helmet to solve a puzzle. I was gonna say, or you could just fly past it with a jet helmet, so let's be very careful, but never mind that then. I think the bull power-up should still be outside if I need to go and fetch it. And I do, because I don't like having 0 hit points. I'm that kind of infuriating player who thinks anything less than 100% is critically wounded, you know? Oh, and it is still there. Thank you, whatever it is that lets me scroll to the left. I always hated games where you couldn't do that. Again, because I was trying way too hard to apply rigid real-world logic to a dumb and nonsensical situation, so yeah, let's try not to jump on these guys, how about? Okay. And see, how's that? You're getting to see some actual lateral thinking at this point, and not me just brute-forcing my way through another puzzle. Did I mention how much I love the giant coin blocks? They are so cute. And I don't need that checkpoint. I am doing just fine on my own. Although, something I will say, this stage really resonated with me when I was younger, and it's in part due to the music. I mean, even though I'm giving it flack, it's really good at lending an ambient touch to the feel of an ambient, dank cave and beach, you know? Although that would probably make a lot more sense if I had stayed in the cave, not come to the beach, but I thought this was meant to be the boat map. Where's my boat level? Where's Jib Jig? That was an awesome tune, especially the Game Boy version, which nobody seems to acknowledge anymore. I'm being harsh, I think. I mean, the levels do a good job of telling a little story and letting you know precisely how you got from point A to point B on the map. And that is something else that... Okay, hi. Didn't see that star come out, and now I am absolutely wasting it. Well done, game design. I begin praising you, and you drop the ball. Drop it like a sack of sugar all over the paper. Do you want ants? Because this level design will give you ants, if you keep doing that. No, I don't know what I'm talking about, but we are at the end of the level, so I don't have to know what I'm talking about. Or maybe I do. It's a sign I've come to this after playing a round of LSD, because I get so used to stopping at the end of each day to begin anew with the next day. I kind of forget how to be cohesive when I'm playing the other games. Kind of makes you wonder how on earth I managed to stay focused during Oni Chambara. Oh, and it's this music again! This music is my absolute favourite. I mentioned it in the first batch of videos. I made my own version of this music for my dissertation when I was in university. Like, I made an archaeology game that was entirely original content and was in no way a C-sharp knockoff of Arc Adventure of the Acorn 2 personal computer. Shut up. So, to start off with, you had to go to a dig site and play like a little minesweeper game. Try and find various hidden artifacts in the ground. And the game would cycle through about 10 or so video game themed tracks. One of them was my own little version of this tune. And I justified it by saying it's funny and jaunty, but it's also quiet enough to be played in a classroom environment without distracting the students who are not playing the game. Now as I come to think of it, both games are about collecting various valuable artifacts, so the whole creation process has now come full circle. And incidentally, History Quest, which is what I call the game History Quest, it demonstrates the problem I have with wanting to develop video games, in that nothing I do is ever good enough. I submitted it for appraisal, I got a pretty high pass. As soon as I submitted it, I sat down and added a stack of extra content to the game. And then I sent the extended version off to a school, and a couple of schools in my area are now playing it. And as soon as I got letters back saying they were using it, I sat down and added even more content. I mean, even now, 6 to 7 years later, I am still adding and tweaking content. Like, it is insane. It's why I could never do a found footage style of game, which I've always dreamed of doing. Like, I'd never be able to just put the game out and let people pick it apart. I would want to fix whatever bugs they found or add new content or whatever. You know, I thought I'd be able to hit that guy with the flames from a distance, but the current says no. And that's the end of a wonderful beach stage that perfectly encapsulates being on a boat. And going fast, and doing all the other stuff that's in that dumb song. Oh, so I was doing a night shift the other day. Night, whatever. Oh, hell's that? We're actually on a boat. And I'm actually not gonna do that now. I was doing a night shift, and we usually play our own music through the in-house radio, because I can't stand the music they play during the day. I couldn't deal with it during the night. It comes to my turn, and I say we're gonna get schooled on rap music. And one of my colleagues looks at me, full of fear, and says, like, I'm on a boat, right? That kind of rap? Not actual rap music? And sadly, the first track that came up was... I'm not entirely comfortable repeating the title, but it's from a Wu-Tang album, and it's pretty ghetto. He has not spoken to me since. But yeah, whatever, we're on a boat. Like, 13 minutes in, we've reached the level's namesake. I forget where the key is for this one. But I do know it's behind a trick door, and I always fall for it, so expect to see that happening, and me trying to play off like I didn't. It's one of the reasons I'm glad this stage has a generous time limit. I mean, thankfully this is the only stage that has inexplicable one-way doors. Like the other stages that have them are auto-scrolling, so they can be forgiven. Now this is the door that... Huh. Apparently, I am glad this game has a very generous time limit. Not that I need it, because I'm a super cool guy who is also a fantastic dancer, and I would never be caught dead going through a trick door. Nope. Not I. Because not that is what I do. This isn't where I needed to go, by the way. This is a room where you can just go and collect some goodies and look at a really well-made backdrop. I really do hope we get to see more of that someday. Door number 2 is a stupid door for losers, and I'm glad I didn't take it. It's only really useful as a shortcut back to the treasure room, because the actual key door is not for another couple of screens. Its location should be obvious to everyone, and I totally know where it is, which is why I don't feel the need to explain it without compensation or hyperbole. Although, you know, the fact that it isn't here means that my facade is crumbling to the ground, because I have absolutely no idea where the key is meant to be. I mean, I think I will look out eventually if I just keep exploring every room, but hopefully I will have time enough to make it to the start of the level and the exit again. But whatever, if I don't, I still hit the checkpoint in one of the coolest ways possible, so that's a nice little safety net. Oh, and hush my mouth, because there it is. And you know, so this really is a really nice looking backdrop. It's like we're in a castle or something. I mean, I'm glad they're showing off more and more things in the backgrounds lately, because caves get a bit boring after a while, you know? He says as he goes back to uniform wood paneling, but you know, that's different. Because of reasons. I like the soundtrack, by the way. Like, this particular track sounds a lot like scheming music. Or like somebody sneaking around somewhere. Okay, let's see what's in here. See if it ties into my dumb idiot child version storybook theory. But I'm not entirely sure what that is. Looks like an axe. Which I guess would make sense because it's, well, going next to a dagger, but I don't think that's much of a treasure. Unless it's the golden axe. Who knows. And what does it matter? The point is, I got it, and we are on our way to collecting every treasure. With absolutely zero screw-ups along the way. I mean, just watch that come back and bite me in the ass. I don't know how, but it's coming. Speaking of which, I really do hope I have enough time to make it to the end of the stage. It's like I said, they're pretty generous, but that doesn't take into account just how much time I spent screwing around out here. Especially that bit where I slipped into an alternative dimension. I mean, that saved a lot of video time and all, but it cost me a whole bunch of game time. Sure hope I can slap together a decent enough visual to follow through on that line, because otherwise I'm gonna look quite the fool. Oh, gee, I did that with one of my really early videos. Like, I was talking about an old CPC game called, I think it was Superhero, or Power Play, something featuring a pantheon. And I improvised a line about consulting the Wheel of Hatred, and I didn't have anything to make that visual, so I just cut to a black scene and ran some sound effects. And that's how I laid the foundations for the mega empire that you see today. Oh, and what do you know? Another boat level. How nice of you to cotton onto your own theme, world map. What's that? 2 out of 5 levels? Which is 40%, which is a pass. Which is good enough for me. Way to negate your own logic, CPC gamer. Very well done. Now, I'm pretty sure that this way leads to a treasure. I am dead certain there's a treasure in one of the boat stages of the boat world, but you have to get to the deck in order to reach it, and this is the way to do it. And if it weren't, then I still got a bunch of coins, which is good enough for me. But pure greed is good enough reason to do absolutely anything, right? I think it's pretty telling that some of my characters have really horrible motivations. Please be a power-up. Oh, crackles. I'm gonna have to, I don't know, use skill or something. I'll hope that that glitches out. That works. But yeah, I've mentioned before how one of my favourite villains is Kefka from Final Fantasy VI. Or 3, depending on where you live and when you live there. Kefka's entire motivation for doing anything is because it's funny. Like, you other Final Fantasy villains, driven by greed, revenge, jealousy, fear. I'm gonna get this dragon hat, show off and exploit with the final boss. Kefka just does not care. Like, he poisoned an entire village because it's funny. He completely destroyed the world because it's funny. Incidentally, he's also the best villain because he does what he sets out to do. He wants to destroy the world, and he does. Like, you can't win. make things less bad. Now, if memory serves, which is a sentence that has never led me wrong in this playthrough, yeah, there's a treasure door out there in the middle of the deck. And the key is... I don't know, necessarily, where the key is. But I do know that the door is there. I thought it was behind one of those blocks of 4, like in Sherbet Land, and apparently I'm... wrong, so exploration time and look at those pro roping skills! Oh, is that the key? Excellent. So, I can't imagine this boss fight is going to last very long when I get to it, so let's get this out of the way now. Check out those key skills, by the way. It's all coming back to me. The boss is called Bobo, and he also appears in Wario Land 2, and for some reason he's one of the placeholder names in Mario Golf on the Game Boy. There is a boatload of tiles in the ROM that shows a little cutscene of Bobo sitting in the middle of a grassy field. And given the way that he's programmed, it's impossible for that scene to take place during the fight. So it was probably intended to show him after the fight or something like that. But with that said, in the cutscene, Bobo's using an old design, and he's in an area where he isn't meant to be. And it suggests, to me anyways, that he was meant to be fought as the boss of the next world, and they just shuffled him to the ship when they redesigned him. Where on earth is the boss door? I know it's on one of these ship's masts, because you have to climb up to the crow's nest to fight him. I mean, it's a pretty original idea, and I can't think of a single other game that did that yet. And certainly not the previous installment to this series. Alright, let's go. So this is Bobo the Bird. And if you think this area looks a little sparse, it's because he's not displayed on the sprite layer. He's actually made from a bunch of foreground tiles sliding around, so you couldn't display a background without severe graphical glitches. And because he's a foreground object, he's flammable. So you can just kill him outright with a fire helmet. Like, easiest fight ever. What you are meant to do is jump on the pterodactyls, pick them up and throw them at him, but what's the fun in that? Seriously, would you believe that that fight gave me so much trouble when I was younger? I absolutely couldn't do that. Oh, and speaking of cutscenes, check that out! Incidentally, we are now stuck here and we can't turn back. So, well, join us next time when we push on and explore the Parsley Woods. And until next time, goodbye!